In a logo, points of light connect to form a soaring eagle over the New York City skyline. DRA, the next 25 years. 1 in 5 people in the U.S. has a disability. Most of us at some point in our lives will have a disability. Over 25 million people in the U.S. have vision loss. Over 48 million people in the U.S. have hearing loss. Disability rights advocates protects the civil rights of people with all types of disabilities. For this reason, the following video has been made fully accessible by the use of open captioning for the deaf and hard of hearing and open audio description for people who are blind and low vision. Audio description provided by Michelle Spitz, woman of her word. Video portraits of DRA clients.
At Disability Rights Advocates, we are the enforcers of the civil rights of people with disabilities.
Rebecca Williford has used a wheelchair since high school. She joined DRA as a summer intern 10 years ago and is now a managing attorney.
You know, we are changing what it means to be a person with a disability in America by the work that we do every day.
Emily Seelenfreund works at DRA as a Walensky Fellowship attorney. She navigates her wheelchair through the crowded streets of Manhattan, then works in her office.
So what DRA does is it looks at basically how can we solve this problem not on a case-by-case basis, but on a system-wide basis to truly create, a country in which people with disabilities really do have meaningful access. Like how amazing would it be to live in a world in which everything was accessible and it was just the default.
On a sidewalk, Emily smiles as she tilts her wheelchair. DRA has achieved a victory on behalf of millions of people with disabilities in nearly 500 cases since our inception 26 years ago. Michelle Caiola is the Managing Director of Litigation for DRA in New York City.
DRA has a tremendous record, and our founders just set up a great organization and had tremendous success in California.
Founders Sid Lewinsky and Larry Paradis pose outside a courthouse and at a DRA event.
It really is wonderful to be carrying on the tradition and making a difference in people's lives.
Access is a civil right, and disability rights advocates is definitely fighting to back us up 100%.
Dustin Jones is the president and founder of United for Equal Access New York. He is also a plaintiff in DRA's case against the NYPD.
I went to the 25th Police Precinct to make an incident report. I remember I got there were steps.
Dustin, in his wheelchair, waits on a sidewalk as pedestrians and traffic speed past.
I'm sitting outside of the front steps for about almost an hour before I was able to go through a back door, which was not accessible, where they bought the prisoners, and bought inside.
DRA, through its class action case against the NYPD, is suing to make all police stations in the 5 boroughs accessible.
I've had to go through so many humiliating things, and to have partners like DRA working with me and saying, that's not right. Access is a civil right.
Dustin visits the DRA offices.
Just to see how much they care and how much they're willing to put into this, it's really, really mind-blowing.
Melissa Echo Greenlee is the founder and CEO of DeafFriendly.com. She signs as she speaks.
My daughter was born 4 months early, and she spent the first 11 months of her life in hospitals, mainly ICU.
In a photo, Echo's daughter is slightly bigger than her father's hand. She lies amid a tangle of tubes and wires connected to an IV and a ventilator. Her parents' hands rest lightly over her body. During that time, the hospital did not regularly provide Echo with an interpreter.
I did not have access to the information that I needed to make decisions about her life.
Echo glances away.
Or death.
She takes a heavy breath.
And that experience really left me shattered.
DRA later worked to secure an agreement with Seattle's Northwest Hospital, ensuring that ASL interpreters would be provided to all deaf and hard of hearing patients and their family members.
Every case they bring up reminds me that I'm worthy of these rights.
Echo walks and signs with her daughter, now preschool-aged.
Our clients are heroes. They take a risk for everybody by being the face of this litigation.
Christina Brandt is a managing attorney in the New York City Office of Disability Rights Advocates.
They have so much courage to stick their necks out and say to a judge, I deserve to be treated better.
Dustin Jones propels his wheelchair over a busy city crosswalk.
This is the important thing. It's not about money. It's about permanent systemic change.
Christina Curry is the executive director for the Harlem Independent Living Center. Christina navigates New York's crowded streets with an arm crutch and dark sunglasses.
It's civil rights. I have the right to access anything and everything the same as my non-disabled peers. And that's where DRA comes in. They assist us with the legal end that we cannot enforce.
Michelle Caiola.
DRA's strength is that it takes on high-impact class action suits. We just continue to go after these big players and have really made them understand that, look, there's this amazing disability rights law and, oh, you need to follow it. We win because our suits are so good.
Jean Ryan is the president of Disabled in Action. She drives her motorized wheelchair across the city plaza.
I don't know where we'd be without DRA because there aren't any other law firms or lawyers that are doing civil rights work like they are in New York City.
DRA opened their New York City office in 2010 after DRA co-founders Sid Wilinski and Larry Paradis spoke to people with disabilities about the incredible need. Our view moves down a pedestrian tunnel toward MTA subway turnstiles. Christina Brandt Young.
The MTA cases are a really good example of what an organization like DRA can do, and that, in fact, only DRA is doing.
Jean Ryan stops at the subway turnstiles. Another passenger directs her elsewhere. Only 20% of New York City subway stations are currently accessible. DRA has filed 7 lawsuits against the MTA to date.
It really is David versus Goliath. The MTA somehow has tons of money to spend on lawyers to fight civil rights legislation, but they don't have the money to make the subway system accessible.
Brett Eisenberg is the executive director of Bronx Independent Living Services and a plaintiff in DRA's cases against the MTA. Brett uses a joystick to drive his motorized wheelchair into an office. News footage of a disability advocates rally outside a courthouse. Some hold picket signs reading, "Elevators now." Jean Ryan speaks to the media.
We want a binding legal agreement with a set timeline to get all the subway stations accessible. We don't want just a few because we live everywhere and we go everywhere.
Jean Ryan leaves the MTA station. Christina Brandt Young.
Sooner or later, they are going to have to come to the conclusion that it is cheaper and easier to just do the right thing the first time than have us sue them every time that they renovate a station and don't put the elevator in.
Brett Eisenberg.
And so it's not just for individuals who were born with disabilities like myself. It's for individuals who acquire disabilities. It's for senior citizens or for families who have babies in baby carriages that shouldn't have to lug a stroller up a flight of stairs. It really benefits everyone.
Christina Curry.
Why is this important? New York City is the most important city in the world. That's right, I said it, New York City.
In a lobby, Christina Curry and Jean Ryan greet each other with a hug.
We are the most well-known city in the world, and yet we are not the most accessible city. That does not make sense.
DRA clients Yelena and Rodney Ferrer discovered that their son Malcolm had type 1 diabetes when he was 6 years old.
He was newly diagnosed, and now he was coming into this new school, and we found out that there's no nurse. Unless one of us is at the school, Malcolm is in constant danger. His health is in danger because if he falls into a hypoglycemic state, no one had any idea how to administer medication to him,
or even how to check his blood manually.
Yeah.
By pricking the finger.
Yelena and Rodney contacted DRA and joined their class action lawsuit representing over 2,000 children across New York City currently dealing with similar barriers.
For our family to find disability rights advocates, it was the most impactful thing that we could have done.
Malcolm smiles from Yelena's lap.
We have an opportunity now because of our situation to really make a change for all these kids. And our son will be the voice of those children, and that was so important for us.
Yelena and Malcolm gaze out a window. Seth Packrone is a staff attorney for DRA and has been with the organization since 2015.
Every one of our clients has already been fighting a battle for something, whether it's education, healthcare, housing, transportation, and just getting to play a small part in that is so important and gives me such a sense of just pride to be a part of that.
I think the DRA really allows people with disabilities to know that we matter. Our voices matter.
Rebecca Alexander is a psychotherapist, author, and East Coast Advisory Board member for DRA. On a city sidewalk, Rebecca walks while sweeping a long white cane in front of her.
Disability rights advocates really sort of teaches us as people with disabilities that it's not a privilege to be accommodated, it's a right.
Dustin Jones.
You can't ask for a better partner in DRA. It's not just talk. I mean, it's action 100%.
Yelena Ferrer.
They put the power back in our hands.
Echo Greenlee.
DRA has been going strong for 25 years. There's still so much work to do.
Jean Ryan.
I know it's worthwhile to support DRA because it's people-centered, it's human rights-centered. It really affects people's lives. All working together, we can change the world, and that's what I want to do.
Points of light connect to form a soaring eagle over the New York City skyline. DRA, the next 25 years.